we're gonna give the stage to our lovely Claire, who's gonna take us through what's actually going on in the Next Gen Connectors Camp.
Thanks, Mirna. So some of you in the audience are OG Specklers and have been with us from the beginning. Some of you are new folks that haven't seen the past 5 years of connector development. But one of the big motivators for us developing the next gen connectors is because our old approach led to some pretty unsustainable complexity in the number of connections that we had to test and support. At one point I did the math, we had like 22 connectors I could send and receive. And if you factor in all the different software versions for each connector, that amounted to over 3,000 connections that we implicitly sustained with about 8 engineers, give or take. We're definitely not Autodesk here. And more important than our own mental health, this mass of connections was also confusing for you, our users. Basically knowing exactly what we could support, to what degree, and to what standard of quality. And that brings us to Next Gen, a new era. So Next Gen is about clarifying the value that we're delivering to you. Those 3,000 plus workloads from before are now repackaged and categorized into 4 clear use cases, which will help boost your productivity, save you time with automations, and hopefully make collaboration more fun with faster feedback. You can read more in detail about each specific connector to connector workflow on our lovely new website, speckle.systems. And yeah, like see more details about each specific workflow and what we support. So the first use case is design coordination. Before, in those 3,000 plus connections that we had, we were attempting what we called sometimes lossy interoperability. This meant that, like, for example, if you send a beam from, say, Tekla and try to receive it in Revit, we would try to recreate that beam with information we had, which was often incomplete for the receiving application. So you were getting something like an 80% beam, which in many high-stakes workflows was effectively the same as 0% if you take into account the time and effort needed to manually troubleshoot the difference. So now we're being strategic about exactly why you'd want to transfer your model from like A to B. We've seen that most coordination workflows are easily enabled by simply using another model's geometry as a reference in your modeling application without needing like fully fledged native objects. So this is our default coordination workflow that we can guarantee works super well. And we'll carefully reintroduce like hi-fi object loading and interrupt to coordination workflows in cases where we can guarantee you that 100% beam/object. So that's design and coordination. The next one, online collaboration. This one, it's super easy to view and share your models with anyone, whether it's your teammate, your manager, or clients. We are making 3D accessible without really needing any specialized knowledge or a license or desktop modeling software. And you can like start common threads where around like specific objects in your model, and even attach like files like images and documents. Like basically don't let your discussion get lost in those like endless email chains. Now they can happen right where you work in the model. More on online collaboration, we're keeping your version history safe so you never lose an iteration of your design. And you can also catch mistakes quickly by using like what we call like the diff feature, where you can see what objects have changed, stayed unchanged, which ones are added and deleted, so you know exactly what's different from version to version. We also have a business intelligence use case. So this actually comes packaged with every next-gen connector out of the box. When you publish a model, you'll get key properties on every model object. You can load that model into Power BI with our connector to create insightful dashboards. You can track your critical quantities and basically give you an overview of how your project is developing. Use it for space planning with rooms and areas, to material quantities calculations. And our dynamic link with the embedded viewer means your dashboards will be beautiful and not boring, hopefully. If you don't want to use Power BI, we actually have some built-in web viewer filtering, which allows you to colorize your model by those like same properties. For a quick visual check of what's inside, it's essentially like a QA/QC at a glance, so you can stay on top of the complex data inside your models. And Automations. This is, in my opinion, one of the coolest features of next-gen connectors. We're now giving you automation results straight into your connector so you can get instant feedback on each version you publish. So like if any model object fails, say a QA/QC run, you'll be able to highlight it in your application, which will save you hours of coordination and looking for specific objects to fix. Jonathan will tell you more about like the specific automations that Speckle will have available for anyone to use in a bit. And yes, what we've been working on. So since the last stand-up, we've rolled out some cool new next-gen tools. The first is a highly requested offline mode for Power BI. Thanks to some fantastic work by Ozan and Dokkan, you can now build and present your dashboards offline, and as a bonus, we're supporting larger models than ever. Ian, Jed, and our collaborator, Chris Diggins, they've juiced up the IFC importer to match the model structure of next-gen data. It's also much more scalable and got higher performance with large models compared to the old importer. And we've also had our team continuing to flesh out those next-gen workflows. David's been working on enabling load in ArchiCAD, which will enable design coordination workflows where you can receive any model into ArchiCAD. This is also kind of cool because when you receive the geometry, you can go into a 2D view and it'll generate some nice plans, plan cuts for you as well. And with Blender, we have Jed and Dokkan and others working on adding the same coordination workflow, receiving in Blender. I think the alpha was just released recently. And yes, this is like our V2 workflow, enabling you to receive any model into Blender. And finally, we've polished our connector installation flow. So onboarding your team has never been easier now that everything from installation to updating and account linking are all built in either to the web app and also to each connector. So you can go straight in app.speckle.systems, go into the connectors tab and install from there, and you'll get immediate notifications whenever we release an update, and you can upgrade from directly in the connector. So I think that's it for me. I'll pass it to Jonathan to show you some cool automations.
Thanks, Claire. What we're going to talk about is the two modes of operation for Speckle Automate. We've been talking about Speckle Automate for quite some time, and we've been wanting to get it really good for you. So what we are going to talk about first, very quickly, are our pre-made automations, and this is what we were calling public functions. That doesn't necessarily fly, but what we were wanting to show off today is that all 5 of these functions, these pre-made automations are fully live and ready to go. We've been already working with some great partners who've been brave enough to try these things out right out of the gate. We didn't announce them being launched, but they started giving us cool feedback and saying, well, how does this work? So what we're showing on the screen here is actually if you've got any model inside Speckle, any model inside a workspace, there is a automations tab on the projects page. You click, you choose one of these pre-made automations, click choose it, select it, configure it. And all of these configurations are designed and kind of baked in, and we are looking to try and make them as easy to use as possible. You choose a model, you give it a name, press go. Next one is the press go. And that automation now, what that will run, and that automation just happens in the background. That manual trigger isn't necessary. Effectively, the way that Speckle Automate works is that every single time you push data to Speckle, that automation, if it's been deployed, will run every single time. And so every time that you push data to Speckle, then effectively you're going to get better and better results. So here we've got model checker, and we've built model checkers so that it works with any Speckle data at all. So whether it's the ArchiCAD, it's the Rhino, it's IFC now, it works with all of these things because Speckle Automate works with Speckle data. And it can get in quite interesting workflows and just about checking the data that's inside here. We've got some user strings, but effectively what we're also showing on this demonstration is that it's also able to do analysis and checking against the geometry as well. In this case, we're saying that these glazed panels are way too big, they need to be split. So we're not only looking at metadata here, we're also able to look at kind of the full gamut of Speckle data inside there. So the call to action here is come try them out. Effectively, they're ready to go and start using them. If there's anything that you need clarification on, come on the forum, tell us all about it. And on the mode of collaborations, there's also some brave souls who've been working with us to try and work where they can get the private automations. Speckle Automate allows you to hoist and deploy any custom code that you have that is your special ingrained knowledge. In this case, we have some work we've done with FasterNet. You can read that on the case study section of our website. And FasterNet, they were looking at embodied carbon, they were looking at buildability, and they've been looking at relative construction information that they're able to embed in their models, or at least they were able to check exactly and verify against that. And other teams have been calling out to us, and we've been working quite closely with them to get them on the road. Because I like collaboration, I've been speaking with Alex probably for a couple of years. I can't remember whether, Alex, you reached out to me or if I reached out to you, but either way, it was a meeting of minds. This was something that we've been wanting to happen for a long time. And we pushed over this earlier this year, well, not very long ago at all, and got it over the line.
We got it working a few months ago, but we started working on it already 1.5 or 2 years ago.
Something like that, yes.
All right.
So thank you for joining us. Over to you.
Many thanks for the intro, Jonathan, and many thanks for having us. So a few words are what I'm going to show you, just a little bit of history. What are the capabilities of ShapeDiver in general and of the integration with Speckle? And then we are going to have a great presentation by Iman Warsame, who's going to show a real use case and just some next steps, what's coming next, what's still missing in that integration. So history, we founded ShapeDiver in 2015. There is an interesting anecdote, because even before we founded ShapeDiver, we already had conversations about how to run and whether to run Grasshopper in the cloud with Dimitri. So our initial mission was make Grasshopper work in the cloud in a reliable, scalable, and secure way. We got that done in 2016, way before Rhino 6 or Rhino Compute was out, and nowadays run geometry backend systems based on Rhino 6, still there, Rhino 7, Rhino 8, and let's see when Rhino 9 is coming. Yeah, what are the main capabilities? Well, we support creating design tools with nothing but Grasshopper and share them safely with your peers, with customers, with whoever you want to share those design tools with, without the other users having to use or know Grasshopper. Since a while, we support creating dynamic and contextual user interfaces using our UI builder framework UpBuilder, and there is an API and SDKs which support various integrations, one of them being the new Speckle integration. How does that work? We deploy Speckle's Grasshopper connector to our backend systems, where you can use them to synchronously send and receive data to or from Speckle. So the connection is still based on the legacy Grasshopper connector. As soon as the new one's out, we're gonna get it deployed as soon as possible. If you want to use this integration, the call to action is head over to the link you see in the QR code to find the documentation about how to do this on our help center. You can download example models. One of the things you will need to do is to create a Speckle access token for your account, which the permissions you need to give to it are documented in the help center. You can safely share this access token with your Grasshopper model, so you don't need to actually bake it into the Grasshopper models. What we see here is a use of our framework called AppBuilder for creating dynamic user interfaces. So the power of this connector really shines when you combine the AppBuilder framework with the possibility to get data from Speckle or send data to Speckle. In this example, we see data being sent to Blender, where the design that was just created is loaded using a Speckle's Blender connector. All right, now let's head over to Iman for giving us a presentation of a real-world use case used at Ramboll. Hi, Iman. Many thanks for showing us your use case. I think you're going to share your screen.
Yes.
Let's see whether that works.
Give it a second to load.
Perfect.
While it's happening, yeah, thank you very much, Alex, for the introduction, and good afternoon, everyone. So my name's Iman, and I work at Ramboll. So I'm a product owner at Ramboll, and this is a quick example of how we've integrated ShapeDiver into an existing workflow. So I'll give you a very quick rundown on what's called the Pipe Bridges project. So we actually gave a presentation on this at the Speckle conference in November. So if you want more detail, you can have a look at the recordings for the full presentation. But I'll just play this quick video, which shows the existing workflow, which everything was done in Grasshopper. Then we pushed our data, so our pipe bridge data, to Speckle with all of the metadata inside. And then from Speckle, it was able to pull that information into Revit for drawing production, and also into Soufflé, which is on the screen now, for automated steel structural analysis with robots and other automations built on top of it. So yeah, you can see this is some of the outputs from the Soufflé system. And if I go to next slide. So this was the existing workflow where Grasshopper was our geometry generation and design module. And the way we set it up, each of these individual units, so Grasshopper, Revit, Soufflé, they can always be swapped out for something new or something better. So Speckle acts as our central, almost like a train station of sorts. It's an interchange for our data, and it doesn't really matter what sort of trains are coming in and out. So what we have been experimenting with is switching out Grasshopper for ShapeDiver, sparkles. So very shiny, very exciting. And the benefits are obvious, as Alex already mentioned. Some people don't have Grasshopper, some people don't like using Grasshopper, and it also helps with version control as well. So now we don't have the same Grasshopper script on lots of different machines. We can have one and we can update it, and then everyone gets the update at the same time. So I'm going to do a live demo. So if I just stop sharing the presentation and start sharing my screen. I only have one screen today, so I hope you're able to see. I will continue as if you can all see. So this is ShapeDiver, and as you can see, very familiar looking pipe bridge with some very user-friendly sliders rather than having to deal with anything in Grasshopper. So what this allows the users or anybody to do is just have a play around with your design. So clients, other stakeholders can go in and create their own designs. And then we have our Speckle stream, or Speckle model here. And all I need to do is copy the link. And then put in my Speckle stream. So again, you can add your own Speckle stream here. And the way Soufflé works with Speckle will read your Speckle information. So you would put in your Speckle stream here, then send, and in no time at all, a new version has been created, which we can have a look at here. And this isn't just a geometric model, so we have extra metadata that's embedded in each of the lines. So you can see here we've got Speckle type, but we have member sections, member Revit, member Soufflé type. So this is extra metadata that we've added to the model to enable our other modules in our system to be able to generate what they need to. So yeah, that was a very brief whirlwind tour through our ShapeDiver and Speckle integration. And thank you all very much.
Many thanks for this very nice presentation and showing us this application. Perfect. I'm looking forward to see many additional use cases from you and other users. So what are the next steps for this integration? First of all, the next gen Grasshopper connector, we're gonna get it as soon as possible to our ShapeDiver. Secondly, a webhook feature is coming very soon, which will allow you to use your Grasshopper models running on ShapeDiver as automations triggered by Speckle webhooks. So yeah, that's are the next steps, and yeah, we are looking forward to supporting all of you with your questions. Yeah, many thanks for having us, Dimitri.
Our pleasure. Thank you, Alex and Iman.
Yep.
It's wonderful to see these kind of use cases and the integrations that they bring, and like the cool stuff that you've built is super interesting, and like also rewarding for us, as you well know. So we actually, this is, you know, always gives us more energy to keep on doing what we're doing, and I hope it's the same for you guys.
That's it.
And you mentioned the next gen Grasshopper connector. I think it's my job to tease it out right now. So I think there is, if you check out our repo, there is a secret branch that maybe Claire will talk about more.
You don't want to talk about Grasshopper, Dimitri.
I don't want to. Have you seen what's going on in the chat, Claire? Like, I'm afraid to talk about Grasshopper.
Well, for anyone who wants to check out the code, it's on a branch on Speckle, our connectors repo. It's just /Grasshopper, I believe, if you want to really stay at the bleeding edge of what we're working on right now. The base components are all done. I think the main thing I want to call out with Grasshopper Next Gen is that we're being more opinionated, a lot more opinionated than what we were doing with V2. So we're going to focus first on a lot of data wrangling workflows, being able to work with your model structure coming out of other connectors more easily with some nice new mega components. And similarly with properties on your objects as well. So the same properties that I talked about before with our BI workflows, we're trying to make components that will allow you to parse those properties a lot more easily on both send and receive. So hopefully our object models, our data will be a lot more consistent throughout. And yeah, like we're also, this is still in the works. We haven't added support for presentation workflows yet, but that is coming soon. So you should be able to just like plug in a color / material into your objects and easily assign them and push them straight into the web. I think there was another teaser as well. Did we miss that?
Yeah, that teaser was a quote from Jonathan, who presented Automate earlier, like, if you know, you know. So there's a bunch of extra connectors that are coming out. And to quote from the best, if you know, you know. Those are some pixelated logos. Welcome to the stage, Jonathan.
Yeah, I've got nothing to add. What I would say is that what's exciting for us, just like the collaboration with ShapeDiver, is that these connectors now are starting to be picked up by vendors themselves. I think that's worth mentioning, as opposed to the kind of big mess of spaghetti that Claire kicked off the slides with. We're sharing the burden with the people who know best how to deal with their users. And this is the bright future of where collaboration is promised by Speckle. Is that good? Is that worth coming to the stage?
Absolutely.
There's one question in the chat that I figured, since we're on this slide, might as well address. You asked about model object support in NextGen. There will be model object support. Actually, I think it's already working. So we have new parameters for NextGen, a Speckle object parameter, and Speckle collection parameter. These are directly bakeable and castable to and from model objects. So if you pipe in a model object from Rhino 8's Grasshopper into your Speckle object param, it'll pull the color, render material, name, user strings on that model object along with the geometry. And then similarly, you can right-click bake on the collections and objects, Speckle objects, the parameters to bake your objects with all of their name, user strings, etc., straight into the layers that you created, or collections that represent layers that you created as well. So hopefully better, smoother Rhino Grasshopper workflows as well.
Indeed, and then if you're opinionated, like join us in shaping those opinions. I think that's a big call. We're more than happy. I think we're talking with a bunch of you already, but the more the better. So that was the tease. I think we're getting ready to move on to essentially some other more generic but important changes, specifically around essentially Speckle as a company, not Speckle just as an open source project. We are going to launch new plans and new limits, I think, in the impending doom of around about 2 weeks. The most important part to take away from here is that all Speckle work will now start happening inside the workspace. This is for several reasons. This is for clarity, simplicity of use of the product as well, and also just to confuse people less and to make our lives easier as well. An important caveat to everything that we're mentioning now is that self-hosting, like the open source Speckle, you will be able to self-host it, as you know, and how it works so far. Nothing will change with that. That being said, a sneak preview of our upcoming plans and limits. So the context of this, I think it's rather important. Some of you might know that since lovingly 2020, or possibly even before, Speckle has been a free, unlimited usage product that we've been bearing the burden of through various quirks and inventions and adventures. Now, that time, we have reached the time where we're actually going to try and see, okay, what works? So as you know, we've launched our workspace plans. Those are for now an optional buy-into that mainly is valid for you if you're attracted by the security features like SSO and data regionality that they offer. Now we're going to try and see like what happens if we're going to limit the free plans. Specifically, this is from a purely sustainability point of view, and like our cloud bill is exploding, as you guys know. We are ingesting huge amounts of walls and doors and Revit doorknobs and IFC files every single day, and that obviously is a gravy train that we can't sustain for long term. So we're launching new plans that will basically lower the entry barrier for you to start supporting our mission. That said, as well, we are also kind of reworking a few other, let's say, pricing mechanics that we believe didn't work out so far. And a big important change is that viewer seats will be free. Right now, guests are like charged for, and essentially we're only going to be charging in the future for people who create or consume data. So actually opening up a model in the browser, commenting on it, and having feedback sessions there, that is going to be free. Now, this is probably the most contentious point of today's stand-up, and we would love to hear your feedback and questions in the Q&A section that's about to follow. We also have some extra announcements about events coming up.
Yes, we do.
For which I will hand over to Mirna, who will talk more about that.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Dim. Relieving the pressure of money talk to having fun talk with Speckle. This is where you can find us in the coming months. This month, actually, we're going to be back in London after the lovely Speckle meetup at Perkins & Will. We're going to meet you at Shape to Fab or Shape to Fabrication. We're going to be there for the whole shebang, the conference. We're going to do a talk as well as a workshop and also a Speckle party. So have that in mind. Nico-san and Jonathan are going to be leading the amazing Grasshopper Rhino Speckle workshop. So check it out on our social media as well. There's a link there to save your spot. So there's not a lot left. So go check it out fast. Be fast, super fast. And then we're going to hang out in the Netherlands at the end of this month at the Build conference. Our lovely Kate and Björn are going to present there as well. They're going to have sessions you can sign up for. I don't actually think you can sign up for them. You just you get your Build ticket and then you go in. The last I checked, there's only the 3-day tickets left. So going by fast as well. And then a little reminder that we had a lovely time in London at Perkins & Will, but we want to do it again. Not necessarily in London, but it can also happen in London. Wherever you are, that's where we want to come and want to hang out and get the Speckle community together. So if you want to host the next Speckle meetup, definitely let us know. We are available on all of the socials, email, everywhere, just in the community forum as well. Just say the word and we're going to make it happen together. As you can see, people love it and it's a fun time. Last time we had 60+ people. There was 8 presentations. It's pretty much like very value-packed, knowledge-packed of how you can get Speckle to work for your specific workflow and then getting everything in check. And this brings us to the very end of our stand-up today. I thank you very much for being here, and I feel like this is the most interesting part it could be, because there's a lot of questions, and I'm gonna bring the whole team back on stage. Are you ready? We're gonna get drum roll, Dimitri, and then drum roll, Jonathan, Claire, and that's it.
That's it.
Yay! We are here and we're gonna go through the questions. So keep them coming if you want your question answered, definitely. So folks, okay, with next-gen connectors, we can expect greater consistency. As to say, a query written for Revit takeoff will work for ArchiCAD or other? Question mark.
That's a very good question that actually Jonathan has been grappling a lot with. So I'll leave him to answer first and foremost.
Absolutely, for sure. This is what fair to say I've been pushing the team a little bit on this because as a data analyst, this is what you want. You want a greater consistency. And the good news is that's exactly what's happening. It's a very clear and logical way that all of the connectors will be pushing data to Speckle. Now, there's a caveat to that. ArchiCAD has properties called things like archicad.com whatever property. That is not necessarily the same as the property as it's named in Revit. So if you're familiar with the tool, then you'll know what your properties that you're searching for. What we've done and what we've built and what was enabling you to do is that no matter what data you're trying to look at, it's going to be found in the same way. So hopefully that answers the question.
So the assistant to stubborn lead provided a polite answer. There will be inconsistencies for sure, but we're working to minimize them. Chris is asking, yes, will we see more filtering, sorting in the viewer? Like actually, Chris, we would love to talk to see what more you'd want to see. Personally, having written the V0 of that feature, I know it sucks a lot. We do want to improve it. Like the how, we have some initial ideas. I think both Claire, Jonathan, and the rest of the team and Benjamin. But we still don't have a clear shape on how that's going to look like. So type them out, type those opinions out in the chat.
Jose is asking, anything on being able to access multiple versions in Power BI Data Connector?
I was really hoping that Ozan or Dogukan will answer this question in the chat.
So we can say yes. So I mean, I can share with you what
yes,
I read
soon.
On.
Dokan says yes.
Yes, soon.
In 2 weeks.
Data, yes. The visuals coming. There we go. That's the short form.
Amazing. This is a very sad topic, and here, like you know, the CEO hat on, I will say no. It makes no sense. With a Mac user hat on, it's like, oh God, it's painful to work on a Windows computer. I really want to go back to my Mac, but it's very difficult. In short, like we will try, Stefano, but there's a thread on the forum where like Mac users are actually gathering to exert subtle pressure on us to develop Mac connectors. Please add your voice there. From our past experience so far, the usage numbers do not matter that much, though we do know, like, for example, there's whole studios that use ArchiCAD on Mac. So from just that point of view, in targeted cases, we will probably invest in adding support for Mac. Now, it depends on where that also on Mac question comes from. If it comes from ArchiCAD, that's a very likely yes. If it comes from other directions, like possibly Grasshopper or Rhino, we've seen very little usage on Mac so far, or consistent usage on Mac so far. Yeah, I love recursive questions. Like, where is the Q&A feature? There is no Q&A feature inside this chat, but as you can see, we've been starring your comments and answering them.
Blender is already available, but right now you can download it at releases.speckle.systems. It will be added to the app soon. I think it's also like a very, very new release. So, and also still unannounced. So you heard it here first. But yes, currently releases.speckle.systems.
Jose's back for more. Did the next-gen connector from Power BI changed anything regarding the GraphQL API commands? Some of my queries broke.
Yep, I think they did. And then this is another moment where I really, yes, perfect. Thank you, Dogo. You've saved the day.
I seem to remember complaining about it and one getting added back that I used. So if you want to ask.
Receiving alignments and corridors in Civil 3D. So this falls under the 80% objects I was talking about earlier. This is, I mean, as you know, alignments and especially corridors are super complex. So again, I think the answer to this is, please tell me what you're trying to do with receiving like native alignments and corridors in Civil 3D. Are they from Civil 3D? Are they from Bentley, Open Roads, etc.? And then sometimes there's actually a viable but direct answer, short term, no plans for receive in that scale on Civil 3D without at least better scoping on our end.
Nice. Let's go to the next one. It starts off as a thank you for the presentation, which is really nice. The comment before also had a little shout out to the connectors team, which, yeah, thank you everybody for the support. I can, as a marketing person, I can say thank you to everybody. I think that our product team is very modest and they're quiet about it, but it means a lot. Like, gathering here with you is just, it's super important. So keep the questions coming as well. Okay, guys, who is doing this one?
I think, well, I can do it, and then Claire can add, and then Jonathan can complain, because I think, so in short, Katja, talk to us, because right now we'd really love you to use our new library, basically, and that comes with a host of improvements. There's a bit of a change of paradigm. There's a bit of dependency injection, you know, a bit of stuff that we didn't have in the previous one. And it also comes with lacking, let's say, gloss and polish, which we would like to hear from you to understand, like, kind of what you're doing, what you're using it for, and kind of shape the .NET SDK towards your needs.
And I guess to extend on that, I also put together recently a bit of a comparison of our V2 objects kit / converters versus our next gen objects and converters. And I think we're currently at like 20% footprint in terms of lines of code between, like, compared to the legacy converters. So from that perspective, hopefully it's going to be a lot easier to spin up like conversions. Like, we have the Rhino converters ready to go. If you're working with Grasshopper, that's actually what we're doing in our next-gen Grasshopper connector. We're just injecting the existing Rhino geometry converters. But yeah, always happy to talk and help troubleshoot if you need.
So I just quickly add, thank you, Katja. You did post on the forum today, and I invited you to come and ask it here. So we're asking back. We will join you on your forum post, and we will catch up with you there.
We have another question, and also I found that there's some music in the background. So now we're also having a party because it's Friday.
For those of you who don't know, in a past life, me and I used to be a radio DJ. So I think this is... Okay. Question from Dick. Will next-gen connectors also start supporting local send for sites with bad network connectivity? The answer is not immediately, because again, we looked at our metrics and that was not really used much or at all. That being said, like, we've got a host of kind of new infrastructure in the place where we're caching things and so on, that we can actually help you support these, like, offline access use cases better in the future.
Any more questions? Oh, David Morgan.
Yeah, I think.
Jonathan.
No, I'm inviting Chuck to comment wildly.
Well, I can provide.
What you wish for.
I'm also, like, I think we've got this question as well, like, I think one community stand-up ago or two. So I think the answer is yes, but our progress so far, I think, speaks for itself, which is a bit, yeah. Okay, a longer question from Just.
Line widths and point sizes. Currently, no. I mean, our 2D support has always been relatively lacking. I know line width was something that we did do in V2. It may be on the table for V3. It's not super high prio right now, but again, if you yell at us loudly, you know, it may be, depending.
Scott, you've made it. It was not caps lock, but it was blue emojis correctly.
That is the secret formula. Please go wild on the blue emojis and get featured. Do we have any more questions? Oh, we do.
Oh, thank you, Scott. No, we haven't forgotten about blobs. You know, blobs are there for actually texture support. That was the initial impetus for them. What do you want to do with blobs, Scott? I can flip this question back to you. I wish there was a mic to pass over.
Waiting for Scott.
We're waiting for Scott.
Probably typing out. Is that it?
I think that's it. We went through most of them.
Oof. This was a lot. Nice. Should we wrap it up? Oh, Matteo. Any question for ShapeDiver? Let's add one person to this party. Hey, Alex.
If there are no questions here, we will answer them in the forum, by email, or whatever.
I think this is also a factor of you guys have actually good polished documentation. So It has been remarked internally, I think, if I remember correctly. We have looked with envy. Let's put it like this.
Okay.
One point.
Oh.
Okay, we have one more.
No, it does not. So does follow mode also share measurements you take already? No, it does not, but it can, I think. Basically, just to give you an idea, like a bit of insight into what's been going on at Speckle, like we've been working a lot on what we call table stakes features so that we can actually sell something, a lot of basically enablement for our company. So we've postponed a lot of the work on actual Speckle magic, which this will resume as soon as we launch our plans.
By the gentle and calming music, you can figure out that we have come to the end of this session. We can now open our eyes
and go forth into Friday.
Yes, exactly. It's been lovely hanging out with the community. Thank you, Alex, so much for joining us.
You.
Thank you to Iman as well. Where's Iman? Iman, you wanna say bye to the people? I'm gonna put you on stage. I would love to do it.
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Yay.